Imagine waking up to the internet on fire, timelines in chaos, group chats blowing up, and every hip-hop page posting one word, Euphoria. Not the show, not Zendaya. We're talking about Kendrick Lamar's track, the lyrical bomb that just ended Drake's entire image. Fans are calling it the biggest rap assassination since Pusha T's Story of Adidas. And honestly, they might not be lying. Because when Kendrick dropped Euphoria, he didn't just diss Drake, he dismantled him. Line by line, word by word. It wasn't just music, it was a massacre. People aren't saying Drake took an L, they're saying he might not recover from this one. And the craziest part? This wasn't even a surprise drop. Kendrick warned him. The tension had been building for months, subliminals in lyrics, backstage shade. Even unfollowing moves that fans caught on Instagram long before the diss went public. But what really sent fans into meltdown mode was the emotion in Kendrick's voice. He wasn't trolling. He wasn't joking. He sounded hurt, like this was personal. People are saying there's more behind the beef than rap. Something deeper, something emotional. Something that's been brewing since 2013 when these two first crossed paths backstage at the BET Awards. Now, Drake's team is reportedly in panic mode. OVO insiders are locking down socials. Ghostwriters are trending. And close friends are allegedly warning him not to respond. The internet's crowned Kendrick as the new king, and the memes. Ruthless. Even celebrities are choosing sides. This isn't just a rap beef, it's a cultural earthquake. Because after Euphoria, Drake didn't just lose a battle. He might have lost his legacy. Stay tuned. Because what we're about to break down will have you questioning everything you thought you knew about both of them. The tension between Drake and Kendrick had been simmering for years, but nobody expected it to explode like this. When Kendrick dropped Euphoria, the entire internet stopped breathing for a second. It wasn't just a song, it was a declaration of war. Every lyric felt like a bullet, every pause like a stare down. Kendrick didn't come to compete. He came to bury. And from the very first line, everyone knew this was different. It wasn't playful shade or clever wordplay. This was straight up venom. In studios across LA and Toronto, producers were whispering, "Did you hear what he said?" Rappers who usually stayed neutral suddenly picked sides. One said quietly, "Drake's not built for this type of smoke." Another laughed and said, "Kendrick went for the jugular. That's not a diss, track, it's an obituary." Fans who had been arguing for years about who was the true king of this generation finally had their moment. On Twitter, timelines split in half defending Drake's legacy, half declaring Kendrick the new god of rap. The SoundCloud comments turned into battlefields. Everyone had theories, conspiracies, even inside info. People claimed Drake had already heard the song days before its release and tried to stop it. Others said Kendrick had been planning this since the Grammys, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But what made Euphoria hit harder than any diss before was the emotion. Kendrick didn't sound angry, he sounded disappointed. There was a weight in his tone, like someone who once respected you but had seen too much. One line cut deep. "You traded bars for followers, truth for filters, love for algorithms." It was like he wasn't just dissing Drake's music. He was dissing his entire image of the brand, the persona, the perfection. And when Kendrick said, "You play God till the world stops believing," the crowd online went wild. Within hours, clips of that line had racked up millions of views on TikTok. Reaction videos flooded YouTube. Even casual listeners, people who didn't care about rap beefs, were saying, "Yo, Drake's done." Inside the OVO camp, things weren't calm. According to insiders, Drake was in his Toronto mansion with his team the night Euphoria dropped. Someone close to him said he didn't even finish listening the first time. He just stood up, walked out the room. Another source claimed Drake told his manager he doesn't want music, he wants blood. The next morning, the entire internet was waiting for a response. Fans camped out on Drake's Instagram page, refreshing every 5 seconds, expecting a post, a story, a caption, anything. But there was nothing. Silence. For an artist as calculated as Drake. silence felt louder than words. Kendrick's camp, on the other hand, was celebrating. One of his producers tweeted, "The truth always wins," and deleted it 10 minutes later, but not before screenshots spread everywhere. Friends said Kendrick was calm, sipping tea in his studio, smiling at the chaos. He reportedly told someone, "Let the music talk." But behind the confidence, there was something else brewing. Insiders said Kendrick had received calls from multiple industry figures, some praising him, others warning him. "You know, Drake's not gonna let that slide," one exec said. Another told him, "You just shook the machine, bro. Careful what comes next." Meanwhile, Drake's inner circle was split. Some of his closest friends wanted him to drop an immediate response. "Don't let him control the story," one argued. "You've got to remind them who you are." But others said he should wait. "If you rush it, you look desperate. Move smart, not fast." As hours turned into days, the narrative started to shift. Fans began calling Drake scared, soft, washed. Memes flooded Twitter showing Drake hiding in his mansion writing love songs instead of battle bars. It wasn't fair, but it was effective. Kendrick had won the internet before Drake could even write a line. Then, on the third day, something strange happened. A short clip leaked online, supposedly from a private OVO studio session. In it, Drake's voice could be heard saying, "They love seeing the throne burn." Fans immediately speculated it was him recording a response. But before anyone could confirm, the clip disappeared. And OVO's legal team started issuing takedown notices left and right. That only made people hungrier. "If he's deleting leaks, that means he's working," one fan tweeted. "He's coming." And just when it seemed like Drake might finally strike back, Kendrick did something nobody expected. He went live. The live was only 3 minutes long, but it broke the internet. Kendrick sat in a dimly lit room, hoodie up, calm as ever. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He just said, "This ain't beef. This is accountability. Sometimes you gotta remind people what hip-hop is supposed to sound like." The comments went insane. Thousands of fans spamming fire emojis, typing King Kendrick over and over. Others begged him to stop. "You already won," one wrote. "Don't kill him." But Kendrick wasn't done. He smiled slightly and said, "Nah, this just the beginning." Then he ended the live. That moment changed everything. The entire industry froze. If Euphoria was round one, Kendrick had just promised round two. Back in Toronto, Drake was reportedly furious. A source close to his team claimed he slammed his phone down and said, "He wants war." Fine. Within an hour, studio lights were on. Writers were called. And OVO's headquarters turned into a war room. But here's the thing, Drake wasn't just mad at Kendrick. He was mad at everyone. Mad at the fans for switching sides. Mad at the blogs for calling him finished. Mad at the friends who stayed quiet when the internet turned. One insider described it like this: "It wasn't about music anymore. It was personal." He felt betrayed. As the first notes of his response track began to form, everyone could feel if this wasn't just a lyrical war anymore. This was about legacy, pride, and survival. And when that first beat dropped, the energy in the room changed. Drake was about to speak, but nobody knew what he was about to say would make the situation 10 times worse. The internet barely had time to breathe before rumors exploded Drake was in the studio working nonstop. Insiders whispered that OVO engineers were pulling all-nighters. That Drake wasn't sleeping, just pacing, writing, deleting, rewriting. Someone from inside leaked that he wasn't just responding to Kendrick. He was preparing to embarrass him by day 4. A mysterious file titled FamilyMatters.mp3 started circulating in private group chats. Nobody knew if it was real, but it felt like a storm was coming. Kendrick fans laughed it off, saying, "Drake's cooked. He ain't bouncing back." But OVO loyalists were quiet, too quiet. Then, at midnight, without warning, Drake dropped his response. No rollout. No teaser. Just a link posted to his story that said, "This what accountability sounds like." This what accountability sounds like. The track opened with eerie strings and Drake's voice, calm, cold, surgical. "You say it's about rap, but I see jealousy in disguise," he began. It wasn't his usual melodic flow. This was pure venom. He accused Kendrick of playing conscious, while chasing validation, called him a studio preacher, and even threw in subliminals about Kendrick's family and label deals. But what made the world stop was the second verse. Drake said, "You talk legacy, I talk receipts. You're the verse, I'm the culture." That line went viral instantly. OVO fans flooded comment sections saying he's back. But not everyone was impressed. Kendrick fans called it industry talk, saying he missed the point completely. Within minutes, Twitter turned into a digital boxing ring. One side screaming Drake bodied him, the other shouting, "This is weak." YouTube reaction channels were uploading nonstop. One popular host said, "It's good, but it's not Euphoria." Kendrick stayed silent. No tweets, no posts, nothing. And that silence spoke louder than any verse. Fans started to believe Drake Matav scared him into retreat. OVO insiders were celebrating, saying the energy in the studio was victory vibes only. But behind closed doors, Kendrick wasn't retreating, he was calculating. People close to him said he didn't even listen to the song for the first 12 hours. Instead, he called a few trusted collaborators, including producers he hadn't worked with in years. His exact words reportedly were, "If he wants to talk culture, let's remind him who made the culture move." And then, quietly, Kendrick went back to work. Meanwhile, the hip-hop world was losing its mind. Podcasts were debating the death of Drake. Others were arguing that Kendrick was hiding because he had no response. Memes flooded social media, some showing Drake dancing over Kendrick's grave, others showing Kendrick meditating on a mountain, waiting to strike. Celebrities started picking sides. 2J Cole posted a cryptic tweet. "The real always outlasts the hype." Fans dissected every word, asking if it was a subtle nod to Kendrick. Rick Ross liked a post that said Euphoria greater than everything Drake ever wrote, while DJ Khaled commented, "We blessed." No negativity, and quickly untagged himself from the discussion. Inside Drake's camp, things were getting complicated. Not everyone agreed with how he handled it. One of his producers leaked to a blog that Drake had scrapped 3 other versions of the track before releasing Family Matters. They said he wanted something that hurt, without sounding desperate, but after it dropped, the response wasn't what he expected. Instead of people calling it a win, they were calling it too corporate, too polished, too brand safe. That started to get under Drake's skin. He felt like no matter what he did, the world had already chosen Kendrick. A source close to him said, "He's mad because he's used to controlling the narrative. This time, he can't." Then came the next twist. A random TikTok account posted a 30-second snippet of Kendrick in the studio with the caption, "Round to loading." Nobody knew if it was real, but the energy shifted instantly. Drake's victory lap came to an end. Within hours, the snippet was everywhere. You could barely hear the lyrics. But one line stood out. "You rap like you're still trying to convince yourself you're great." Fans lost their minds. Everyone knew Kendrick was coming. In Toronto, OVO's team started panicking. "If he drops again, we're done," one insider said. "People already turned on us once. Another hit, it's over." Drake was reportedly furious, calling emergency meetings, demanding new beats, even threatening to expose everything. The industry was holding its breath. People said this was the biggest lyrical war since Nas versus Jay-Z, but on a global scale. Every fan base, every blog, every influencer was watching. And then it happened. Kendrick dropped his second response. No promo, no warning, no fancy rollout. The file just appeared on streaming platforms titled The Heart Part 6. From the first second, everyone knew this was war. Kendrick's voice came in sharp, confident, unbothered. "You built a mansion of mirrors and called it fame," he rapped. Now watch it crack under the weight of your reflection. The production was minimal, raw, letting the words breathe. He mocked Drake's image, his brand, even his relationships. But halfway through, he switched his flow completely and started speaking directly to Drake, saying, "You said accountability. This is accountability. I'm showing you what truth sounds like." Fans were in shock. The track wasn't just brutal, it was surgical. It sounded like he had studied every aspect of Drake's career and dismantled it piece by piece, even people who had defended. Drake before started saying, "Yeah, this might be over." Back at OVO, the mood was dark. Someone leaked that Drake listened to The Heart Part 6 3 times in a row and didn't say a word. He just sat there, staring at the wall. One of his engineers said quietly, "You could feel it, he knew he lost." The world started calling it the night Drake's crown cracked. And while Drake tried to figure out his next move, Kendrick disappeared again. No tweets, no interviews, no posts. Just silence. But that silence didn't mean peace. It meant he was preparing for something even bigger. The moment Kendrick dropped The Heart Part 6, the world changed again. Timelines erupted, reaction channels crashed, and for a full hour straight, Twitter spaces were filled with debates so loud they sounded like riots. Fans were quoting lines like scriptures. The track didn't sound like rap beef, it sounded like revelation. Kendrick wasn't rapping to win. He was rapping to end op. People called it poetic warfare. It wasn't a diss filled with cheap shots. It was layered, surgical, spiritual. He went from talking about fame to fatherhood, from bars to legacy, making every word hit like a confession. There was one line everyone kept looping. "You built a house of mirrors and called it OVO." Fans said that bar shattered Drake's image completely. It wasn't just about the music anymore. It was about who these two men were when the cameras turned off. Back in Toronto, things were tense. OVO security was doubling shifts because crowds of fans started showing up outside Drake's mansion just to film videos yelling, "Kendrick got you." One video even showed a car pulling up to the gate, blasting Euphoria at full volume before speeding away. It was chaos. Inside the mansion, sources said Drake was quiet, too quiet. One insider shared he wasn't talking, he wasn't smiling, just pacing. You could feel the energy shift. He felt cornered. Another person from his circle claimed he wasn't mad at Kendrick anymore. He was mad at himself. Drake's not used to being the one on defense, they said. This hit different. By now, the industry was fully engaged. Producers, rappers, and even pop artists were chiming in. Doja Cat tweeted that Kendrick verse felt like an open letter to fame. Jack Harlow went live saying, "Drake's still top 5, but right now, the boy's bleeding." The entire hip-hop community had turned the feud into a cultural event. Then came something nobody expected. Drake's mom got dragged into it. A gossip account posted that Kendrick had referenced a son who hides his mother's pain behind marble floors. Fans believed it was a subliminal aimed at Drake's long-kept family struggles. Within hours, Drake's mom, Sandra, was trending. Fans started arguing about whether bringing family into the beef crossed the line. Kendrick fans said he didn't name names. Drake's fans said he went too far. Emotions ran high. The family was left divided. And OVO insiders began scrambling for damage control. A close friend of Drake told a blog that the comment cut him deep. They said he replayed that part over and over, then muttered, "He's trying to make me human again." For the first time, it seemed like Drake understood what Kendrick was really doing. This wasn't just about bars. Kendrick was attacking the image, the mask Drake had worn for years. The internet started forming two camps: Team Artistry and Team Fame. One side said Kendrick represented authenticity, the artist who refused to play the social media game. The other said Drake represented success, the man who mastered the industry and never broke character. It wasn't just a beef anymore. It was a philosophical war. Then, as if things couldn't get more intense, a secret meeting allegedly took place. Reports claimed J. Cole, who had stayed neutral until now, invited both camps to meet in Los Angeles. Some said he wanted to end the beef before it got destructive. Others said he wanted to see who really had heart. Nobody knows what truly happened in that room, but one source close to Cole claimed they both walked out quieter than they walked in. Whatever happened in that meeting, it didn't stop Kendrick. Because days later, footage leaked of him performing Euphoria live at a small venue in LA. Fans screamed every word. And halfway through, Kendrick paused the beat and said, "This ain't about hate. This about healing." The crowd went wild. Even people who weren't fans before started to feel like they were watching history unfold. In Toronto, Drake's circle watched that clip in silence. One of his producers said, "He's turning pain into purpose, man." "That's dangerous," another whispered. "It's over." But then something strange happened. A week after the live video, a private recording from Drake's camp leaked Drake's voice on a voicemail to someone unnamed. He said, "You ever feel like everyone's rooting for you to fall, just so they can say they knew it?" The tone was heavy, defeated. Fans started to wonder if Drake was breaking down behind the scenes. Kendrick fans celebrated, but some started feeling uneasy. They wanted competition, not collapse. One viral tweet read, "We wanted bars, not breakdowns." It got over 500,000 likes, and that's when things took another wild turn. A new rumor started spreading that Kendrick wasn't done. He had one more track coming. Something darker, something that would end the discussion forever. Insiders called it the finale. Some claimed the song was so personal that Kendrick debated not releasing it. One engineer reportedly said, "He's got one last verse sitting in the vault that'll either destroy Drake or change hip-hop forever," as fans speculated. OVO insiders claimed Drake had left Toronto for California. No one knew why, but some believed he wanted to face Kendrick in person. One journalist tweeted, "If these two end up in the same studio, hip-hop might collapse under the pressure." The tension was unbearable. Every major artist went quiet. Every blog waited for a move. It felt like the calm before a hurricane. And then, in the middle of a random night, a mysterious audio snippet surfaced online. 30 seconds of a deep, reflective voice that sounded like Kendrick. No beat, no chorus, just a single line. "The war's not over till the silence speaks." It was enough to send the internet into hysteria. Was it a teaser? A leak? A farewell? Nobody knew. But one thing was clear: Kendrick wasn't finished. And Drake wasn't healed. As rumors of an unseen track spread, whispers began that this battle had gone beyond music. Some said Kendrick's diss was being studied in classrooms. Others said Drake was considering canceling shows. Whatever the truth was, the world knew something massive was about to happen next. And when it did, it wouldn't just be about lyrics anymore. It would be about legacy. The night before the world thought it was finally over, a storm rolled across Los Angeles. Lightning cracked through the sky, and as if on cue, the internet erupted again. A new track appeared out of nowhere on SoundCloud. Number credits, no announcement, no promo. Just a black cover with white text. The silence speaks. Fans knew immediately it had to be Kendrick. But what nobody expected was how personal it would be. This wasn't the same energy as Euphoria or The Heart Part 6. This was quieter, colder, and somehow heavier. It started with the sound of rain, faint footsteps, and then Kendrick's voice, almost whispering they wanted a war, but I gave them a mirror. The beat was haunting slow piano, minimal drums, a faint choir in the background. He wasn't dissing Drake anymore. He was dissecting the entire industry. He rapped about artists losing their souls for clicks, about fans feeding on pain like it was entertainment. And then came the line that broke everything. "I didn't kill Drake. I showed him the reflection he was hiding from." That single bar sent shockwaves through the world. Fans didn't even know how to react. Some said it was the most profound thing Kendrick had ever written. Others said it was pretentious. But everyone agreed this wasn't just a diss. It was a eulogy. Not for Drake's career, but for what fame had turned hip-hop into as the track spread. People began posting reaction videos of themselves crying, sitting in silence, or replaying the song over and over. Big names weighed in. Jay-Z reportedly called it art in real time. Snoop Dogg posted, "The kid just baptized the game." Even Kanye, who had stayed oddly quiet throughout the beef, wrote on his story, "This is what truth sounds like." Back in Toronto, Drake finally broke his silence. A photo surfaced of him in a studio. No entourage, no jewelry, just him and a notepad. People thought he was preparing another response, but insiders said he wasn't writing bars. He was writing a letter. Someone close to him said he doesn't want to fight anymore. He wants to explain. The next morning, Drake posted on his Instagram story a black screen with white text. "I hear you." No hashtags, no caption. Just that internet went insane. People started speculating that Drake and Kendrick might actually meet face to face. One fan tweeted, "This beef might end like a therapy session instead of a diss record." And then, out of nowhere, TMZ dropped a bombshell. Drake and Kendrick had allegedly met in person at a private house in Malibu. No cameras, no press, no security details. Just the two of them and a small circle of mutual contacts. The article said they spoke for 4 hours straight. Nobody knew what was said, but a source claimed they both walked out peaceful. That rumor alone shifted the entire conversation. Suddenly, it wasn't about who won, it was about what they learned. Kendrick fans said he taught Drake humility. And Drake fans said he reminded Kendrick of empathy. For once, both sides stopped fighting and started respecting. A week later, an unexpected move shook the internet again. Kendrick posted a photo of a white dove emoji with the caption, "Love's still louder than ego." An hour later, Drake reposted it with a simple heart emoji. No words, just that. The post broke records. It became the most shared image in hip-hop history. The entire timeline was flooded with peace signs and dove emojis. Fans couldn't believe it, the two biggest rivals in the game had just ended their war with silence and mutual respect. But the story didn't end there. A month later, Kendrick appeared at a secret show in Los Angeles. He performed The Silence Speaks for the first time. Halfway through the performance, the crowd gasped. Drake walked on stage. No announcement, no fanfare, just walked up, nodded to Kendrick, and stood beside him as the crowd screamed. They didn't perform together. They didn't even speak. But that image, two men who had just spent months tearing each other down standing side by side in silence, hit harder than any lyric ever could. The next morning, every outlet had the same headline: Kendrick and Drake end the war. Fans were emotional, saying it felt like a full-circle moment for hip-hop. People compared it to Pac and Biggie only. This time, it ended in peace instead of tragedy. But not everyone believed it. Some claimed the reunion was staged, a publicity stunt for an upcoming joint project. Others insisted the beef was too real to be fake. Conspiracy threads filled Reddit. A so-called insider claimed there was a secret documentary being filmed behind the scenes, titled When Silence Speaks: The Making of Peace. Nobody could confirm it, but it sounded exactly like something these two perfectionists would do. Meanwhile, the industry shifted. Rappers started dropping songs about truth, integrity, and vulnerability instead of just money and fame. Fans called it the Euphoria effect. Even young artists began to say, "You can be lyrical and still be human." And for Drake, it marked a new chapter. Reports said he'd taken a step back from the spotlight, traveling more, seeing family, reconnecting with old friends. One insider said he's happier now. The weight's gone. Kendrick, on the other hand, retreated into silence again. No interviews, no statements, just art. People started calling him the monk of music, the man who came down from the mountain, burned the temple, and disappeared again. The beef that once threatened to divide hip-hop ended up uniting it. And the fans, the same ones who had fueled the chaos, were left with one final truth: both men won. Just in different ways. And somewhere on a quiet night, a fan uploaded the final mashup Euphoria fading into the silence speaks. Two voices that had once fought now existing side by side. The video went viral, captioned, "This is what growth sounds like." Nobody knows if Kendrick and Drake will ever work together or if their truce will last forever. But one thing's for sure, the culture changed that year. Lines were drawn, egos shattered, and from the wreckage came something hip-hop hadn't felt in a long time. Balance. So while the internet keeps arguing about who won, the truth is simple. They both did. Because Kendrick showed what honesty sounds like. And Drake showed what grace looks like. And that's how Euphoria ended the biggest rap war of the decade, by making the whole world listen, and then fall silent. So after everything we just witnessed, the bars, the battles, the silence, and the PCU, gotta ask yourself, what really happened here? Did Kendrick truly end Drake's reign with Euphoria? Or did Drake prove that no one can destroy a legacy built on consistency and connection? Maybe this wasn't about who won or lost at all. Maybe it was about showing what hip-hop has become. And what it still can be. Think about it, the whole culture froze for weeks. Two men made the world stop arguing about algorithms, streams, and sales, and brought the focus back to art, emotion, and truth. They reminded everyone that rap isn't just about flexing. It's about feeling, and that sometimes the loudest statement is the one made in silence. But here's the real question. Do you think this truce between Drake and Kendrick will last? Or is this just the calm before another lyrical storm? Do you think there's a secret collab on the way? Or did the silence speaks close the book forever? Drop your theories in the comments right now, because I want to hear what side you're on. And if you made it this far, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe if you love deep dive breakdowns like this, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we drop the next one. This story might be over for now, but the culture never sleeps, and neither do we. This is your host, signing off from the Real Mix Zone. Stay curious, stay loud, and remember, sometimes peace hits harder than pain. And sometimes a diss track can heal the game instead of breaking it. Because if Euphoria ended Drake, then the silence speaks my TAF just saved hip-hop. Speaks my TAF just saved hip-hop.